Welcome to the instruction video of our annual budget spreadsheet. Our annual budget spreadsheet contains multiple tabs. We're quickly going to show you the different tabs that are in this spreadsheet, and then we're going to show you what is on each tab and how to set up your spreadsheet and how to make most of your spreadsheet. The first tab that you'll find in this spreadsheet is the README tab. On the README tab, you'll find a link to this video that you're currently watching right now, a link to our Google Sheets tips and tricks guides where we share more tips about how to use the spreadsheet and other things that could help you customize your spreadsheet more to your liking, a link to our help desk where you can find our FAQs, and a link on how to contact us should you have any other questions. Below this, you'll find some quick instructions, as well as some upgrade and add-ons that are available for the spreadsheet. And if you scroll a little bit further down, you'll find some more spreadsheet information. Please know that we regularly update our spreadsheet, and when we do, we give each update an individual version number. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom of this instruction guide, so below the video, you'll see a change log. Every time we make an update, we'll place an update here as well with the most up-to-date version number, so you can easily see if you are using the most up-to-date version, or if there's any changes been made and you would like to access this new version. If you would like to access this new version, all you have to do is click on this new template button and you can open up a brand new empty spreadsheet that will always be the most up-to-date version. This new template is also useful for those that, for example, have accidentally deleted tabs that they would like to use, would simply just like to start fresh for the new year, or basically maybe you have made some edits in your file and now your spreadsheet has stopped functioning. So you can just use this button to open up a brand new template. The next tab that you'll find in the spreadsheet is the Start tab. Any changes that you make in the Start tab will update everywhere else. So this is a very important tab as this is where we're going to set up your spreadsheet. You'll then find a Payments tab. This is where you'll plan your bill payments, subscriptions, as well as debt payments for the full year. An Account tab where you can keep track of 25 different account balances. A Log tab, basically any information that you enter in here will automatically update on all the other overview tabs, such as the Year tab, as well as all the 12 budget tabs, so the 12 monthly budget tabs, your Savings tab and your Debt tab, as well as your Worksheet. The next step is the Year tab. Basically here you'll find a year overview of your income, savings, bills, expenses, and debt, and you can basically find a full year overview so you can compare month-to-month expenses and spendings as well as income. Then you have the Calendar tab. On here you'll be able to see all your information from your Payments tab. So basically you'll be able to see all your payments on a calendar view. And then you'll have 12 monthly budget tabs. These 12 tabs are not named because basically you can start this spreadsheet on any month and in any year. So that way, basically, let's say you would start in May instead of January. This tab will now not be named January. It will just be the first month that you start all the way up till 12 months later. The next tab is our Savings tab. Here you can find an overview of all your savings goals and sinking funds and your progress for each of them. Then you'll have a Debt tab where you can basically see all of your debt information that you've set up in the Start tab. But we'll have a little bit of a deeper look at that later in this video. A Net Worth tab. This tab is not linked to anything, so here you can keep track of your net worth, you can set a goal and basically keep track of your assets and your liabilities and then see what your net worth is and how you're comparing to that goal. And the last tab that we have included is your Worksheet tab. So this is basically where you can see how much you spent on each of the subcategories in total from your log, and then you can assign each subcategory an importance, so you can see how much money you spent on the things that are very important to you and how much money you spent on the things that are not so important to you. But all of these tabs we're going to have a deeper look at later, but the first thing we're going to do is head back over to the Start tab so we can set up our spreadsheet. Now, to make it a little bit easier so you can see where you need to enter your information, we've included this little box here. And basically all fields that can be edited, sometimes might take a second, will turn yellow. This way on each of the tabs you'll easily be able to see where you can enter information and which fields will contain formulas or will do calculations for you, so where you should not enter information. Now you can turn this on and off at any point in time, but while you're setting up the spreadsheet and while you're getting used to using the spreadsheet, this might be helpful to you. Now the first thing that you can change is your currency. This is a simple text field. So basically anything you enter in here will show in all the currency fields. So you can type in any currency or abbreviation sign. So for example, to change this, we just double click, hit the backspace button on our keyboard and type in a currency sign or abbreviation of our own. For example, if I type in the euro sign here, If I now go to, for example, the Budget tab, we can see it has updated everywhere else. So again, to change this, you simply double click on this field, hit the backspace button on your keyboard and type in a currency sign or abbreviation of your own. The next field that we have here is the start balance. So this spreadsheet has the option to either use it as a zero-based budget, which means that basically for each month, you simply use the income you've received and allocate that between your savings, bills, expenses, and debt. And then basically whatever you have left over at the end of the month, you don't look at. Or we have a rollover budget where basically you could use whatever is left over at that month towards your next budget. So it'll be income minus savings, minus bills, minus expenses, minus debt. So basically the money that you have not allocated, and that then will roll over to the next month. Now, if you would like to use the rollover function, a lot of people like to do this with their checking account balance. We have added the option here to enter that start balance. So on the day that you start budgeting, you can enter your start balance in here, so you can compare your current left to spend, that you can see over here, is your left to spend and your left to budget. You can compare that to your account balance, so you can easily see if you've entered all the transactions, but also how much you have left to spend for the month. Now, so if for example you have $100 on the day that you start, also this is a text field, you just double click, delete with the backspace button what is in there and type in your start balance. For example, $100. This will then automatically be added to that start balance here for you, so it will show as a rollover in that first month. And then whatever is left at the end of the first month will roll over into the next month and so on. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is change your subcategories. So in total you can enter 30 income and 40 savings, 38 bills, 40 expenses and 40 debt subcategories. The reason you can enter 38 bills is because 2 spots have been taken for subscriptions and irregular bills. We'll have a little bit of a better look at that in the Payments tab. Now to change a subcategory, we've already entered some examples over here. Basically, you just double click on the field and type in a subcategory of your own. For example, paycheck number 1. You might receive a second paycheck during the month, so you might enter paycheck number 2. Or even something like freelance or bonus. Now the subcategories are completely customizable, so you can enter anything that works for you in any language that works for you. These are just text fields, so you can customize it to basically make it work for you. Now we've added some examples so you can have a look. There might be something in between there that you go like, that might be a good start. But of course, again, customize it to whatever you like. And at any point you need to add more, you can just come back and add them here. So don't worry if you're forgetting anything now throughout the month or throughout the year. As soon as you have a new expense subcategory, a new bill subcategory, you just enter them up here. Now, once you've entered your subcategories, you're going to want to scroll down and set up your savings and sinking fund section. So basically the information you enter in here will update that savings tab that you have. So for each fund, and this is completely optional, what you could do is enter a goal, enter a start amount, and if you'd like, and if you, for example, have a start date, so when you're starting to save, and an end date of when you would like to reach this goal, you can enter this information here. For example, you would like to save $15,000 for a wedding, and you currently already have $7,500 saved. Now, let's say we're starting budgeting on that 1st of January 2024, and that's when you would like to start saving for this, and you would like to reach this goal by the end of 2025. Now you can just double click on these fields and a little calendar will pop up, and with these arrows you can scroll through the calendar and then you just type in that end date. Now you see that you'll need to save $326.09 each month to reach that goal by that date. Now let's say, for example, later in the year you also want to start saving for a car, and let's say you have a goal of $5,000. You don't have anything saved yet, and it is now, let's say, February 2025. So just double click, open up that calendar again. And let's say we want to start saving on February and we want to reach this goal by the end of the year. We just use that calendar again. And now we see we need to save $500 each month if we would like to reach this goal by the end of this year. Now, if you have ongoing funds, for example, annual bills, so they don't have a specific start or end date, and they might not even have a goal, but you currently have some money saved for it, let's say $2,500, you can enter this information here. And then when you go to the Savings tab, and if you look at these annual bills here, all this information will be showing, but it will just show as an ongoing fund. At any point in time, you have a new savings or sinking fund that you would like to save for, or you'd like to keep track of, just go back to the top here, enter that savings and sinking funds on the top here, and then when you scroll down, it will automatically be added to that list for you. Now, all of these gray fields should not be edited. Again, only the yellow fields. If anything is missing, just add them on the top first and it will automatically be added to that list for you. Now, the next section that we've included and that you can set up here is your debt tab. So that is this tab. And basically, all the information that you enter here will determine the setup of your debt tab. So the first thing you're going to want to enter is your start date. So let's say we're starting on the 1st of January, because that's when we're starting this budget. The next thing you can pick is between the payoff method. So you can pick between the snowball and the avalanche method. You can pick whichever one works best for you. And basically this means that you don't have to enter your debts in any specific order. Based on the payoff method you select, they will be added in order for you. So if we select snowball, and there is also a field for monthly extra. So once you've set up all your debts, if there's something extra that you would like to pay towards these debts each month, you can enter that on the top here. So now if we would enter some fictional data, so these are just some random numbers, and this will of course be much more accurate once you set up your own debt section. If of course you have any debt, if you don't have any debt, you can of course just completely skip this section. Now let's say you enter in these minimum payments here. So that's your minimum monthly payment, and then what you can do is enter that interest rate in here as well. Again, these are completely fictional, of course. It's just to show you how this spreadsheet works. It will be much more accurate once you add in your own information. Now, we can see that once we enter this information here, the total of our minimum monthly payments is $910. If you would like to put a total of $1,000 towards your debts each month, you put extra $90 here. And then when we go over to the debt tab, we can now see that basically a complete payoff schedule has been created based on the method that we have selected. But also on this, we're going to have a little bit of a better look later on. And that is basically how you set up the Start tab. Now that we've set up the Start tab, we're going to have a better look at our Payments tab before we continue with the rest of the spreadsheet. So the Payments tab was included so you could easily plan a year of payments. So there will be bills, subscriptions, irregular bills, but also your debt payments in one tab. And that way the totals of each of them will automatically be added to the monthly tabs for you. So for example, here you can see all these bills that you've added in that Start tab have already been added. But we've also added the option of a drop-down function. As we know, there are many of you that might pay weekly bills or bi-weekly bills. So this way you can enter them multiple times here, and then the total will just automatically be calculated for you in those monthly tabs. And all of them will be added to the calendar tab for you. So let's say, for example, you pay rent twice a month. Let's say, for example, on the 1st, but you also pay rent on the 15th. Now, these have automatically been linked at the beginning to show whatever you enter. But if this is the end, this is all that you have. And now you would need to enter a second rent. Just know it will override that link, but you can just enter in that second bill. So let's say, for example, now you also pay rent on the 15th. Now you can see that for each month, that 1st and that 15th will automatically be entered. Now let's say you pay rent twice a month, and twice a month it's $500. You type the amount in here, and also this will now automatically pre-fill for you in each of the months. If we would now go towards our budget tab, we can see that that total of $1,000 has automatically been added for you. So this way you don't have to do any of the calculations. If you pay weekly bills or bi-weekly bills, or twice a month bills, the totals will be added to the tabs for you. So all you have to do is just add them here. Now again, using these drop downs means you're removing links. So now if, for example, we would have another bill that we would add, so let's say example. If now we go to that Payments tab here, we can see it's not automatically been added to the list as we've overwritten that link. So do be sure to check that you've added all the links here. Now, basically to set this up, it's quite easy. You just type in all these due dates and basically just enter them like this. And if you'd like, you can enter all the amounts. Now, again, these are all fictional. So it's just to show you, have a little bit of a better idea of how this spreadsheet works basically. $150 towards a car, 250 towards childcare, and 100 towards utilities, for example. So basically, the Payments tab allows you to plan a year of bill, debt, and subscription payments in just minutes. And this way, you can also keep track of your payments. So once you paid a bill, what you could do is mark them as paid here. And then on the calendar, so if we look at it, May 2024, they'll show as paid as well. So that way you can easily see in your calendar and in the list over here, which is a chronological ordered list, to see which payments are still due for this month. Now we know not all payments are the same each month, some might fluctuate, and also the dates might change. So especially if you will be paying bi-weekly bills instead of twice a month, these bills or these dates might be irregular. So just know that all of these date fields, as well as the amount fields, can be edited. So if, for example, electricity turned out to be $85 in May because you need to pay an extra fee in that first month, you just enter in $85 over here, and then it will automatically update on the calendar here. So you can adjust this, and of course it will also update on that bill plan section here in your Payments tab. So basically, again, here you can just change them whenever you need to. These fields will not show as yellow, but if you would add another bill, so let's say for example electricity, you can see all the fields will automatically open up once you've selected from the drop-down list. So it might be good to know. Now if you scroll further down, we've added a bunch of extra fields, so this list is quite long, so that for those that have a lot of weekly or bi-weekly payments, we made sure that there's enough space for you to plan all of your bills and payments. Your debt payments, they are added here, and they are set for once a month, so you can't add those for multiple. But what you could do here is enter the due date and then enter the amount that you plan to pay. And also, just like the top section here, for example, if we would add the first here and $100, all of this information again will be added to that calendar tab, but also to those month tabs over here. So basically this will allow you to plan those bills and debt payments very easily. Now please know, like we said, you can start this spreadsheet at any month in any year, and to change that start date, so we'll automatically update on that Payments tab, those months, as well as on the Year tab and all other tabs. So if, for example, you would like to start in January, you just select January from that list on that first tab and then enter in your year. So this could be 2023, this could be 2024. You can start in any month in any year and use this for as many years as you need it. Maybe for the new year, you would just like to open up a new template from the README tab, so you can keep this and basically start fresh. But again, start in any year and any month. And now, as you can see, we switch it to January 2024. We go to their Payments tab. It will just show automatically January here. So all of these have automatically been updated. It's the same for the year. Everything will automatically update based on that start date that you set in that number 1 tab. Now, so we have looked at the debt section here, and then if you scroll a little bit further down, we've also added the option to add in subscriptions as well as irregular bills. So basically, for those that have a lot of bills, what we have done over here is added a total of subscriptions and a total of irregular bills. So that way you could list them separately, so you don't have to do the calculations yourself. Plus, this way they'll be added to the calendar, but the totals will just be shown in those 12 tabs for you. So let's say, for example, you have Netflix, you might have Amazon Prime, let's say Hulu. Now you just enter in these subscriptions here. You can enter in the due dates here as well. So you can enter up quite some subscriptions here. And let's say you enter these amounts over here. Again, now these will be added to the calendar here for you. So we can see Hulu, Netflix and Amazon Prime, all of them been entered to the calendar, and the totals for all of them will be showing here on that plan section. So that way you don't have such a long list, but you can still very easily add them to your calendar and the total will just be shown on those budget tabs. Now we've done the same for irregular bills. So this way for a full year you can very easily plan all your regular bills. So this could be quarterly bills, this could be semi-annual bills, annual bills, maybe just one-time payments that you know they're coming up. You can just type them in here. So let's say annual bill. And then you just pick the month, so you can see the month on the top here. So let's say you plan to pay this in March. And let's say this is $1,500. It will show this little box is purple here, so you don't forget to enter in the date or else it will not show up on your calendar. So let's say you plan to pay this on the 7th of March. Just enter this information here. And now if we would go to March 2024, we can see that that annual bill has been added over here. So very easily, this way, you can just keep track of all of those payments. And if we go to the third month, that will be the March then, we can also see that irregular bill has been added here as well. And it might be good to know that you can also see a total here on the top for your monthly bills. So this will be your total of debt payments, bills, subscriptions and irregular bills. So you can easily see already what you've budgeted for all these months. Now this tab might get a little bit long. So what you could do is once you've set up or once you've completed the setup of this tab is hide the rows that you don't need. And to do this, what you just do is just click on that bottom row that you don't need, scroll back up, hold Shift on your keyboard and then hide that top row or click on that top row. Right click and then click hide rows. Now basically all these rows are still available for when you have extra bills throughout the year, but you get a much more nicer and compact view, so you're not just endlessly scrolling through this list. Any point you need these rows again, you just click on these little arrows and they'll be made available for you again. Now the next step that we're going to have a better look at is the Accounts tab. And the Accounts tab was added for those that would like to keep track of account balances. So if you're using multiple credit cards, for example, to make payments, or you're budgeting with your partner, for example, and you would like to keep track of savings accounts or checking accounts, you can do that over here. This tab is completely optional. If you just have one checking account or you do not wish to keep track of account balances, you can just hide this tab by clicking on here and clicking Hide Sheet. But if you would like to use this, we recommend setting this up before you start using your log, as basically the information you enter in here will update that little drop-down section for you here. So let's say, for example, you have a checking account, you have a second checking account, and then let's say, for example, you just have 3 credit cards. Now, these are just examples, of course. What you could do here is enter in the type of account if you'd like, and if you have a start balance for each of the accounts, you can enter that here as well. So let's say you have 1,000 in account 1, 1,500 in account 2. You owe $500 on the first credit card, so since you owe money, we're going to be adding a minus in front of it because technically it's negative. Let's say it's 0 on the other card, and let's say you owe $200 on the third credit card. Now basically, once you enter transactions in the log, the totals will be added here for you, as in total in as well as total out. And then you can make any adjustments that you need down below here. So let's say, for example, you also like to keep track of the cash that you have. You currently don't have any cash. Now let's say, for example, it is the 1st of January and you took out some money from your first checking account. So you do out of the checking account. We've taken $500 and we put it into the cash account. If we now scroll through the top, we can see $500 is left, so our current balance is $500. Our cash has added $500, so our current balance also for this one is $500. Now any adjustments that you need to make, so for example, interest charge to your credit cards, let's say there is, so any transactions you make between accounts, you can add those down here. But let's say, for example, anything you don't enter into the log, but you still need to adjust those account balances, you can also do here. So let's say, for example, it's on the 2nd of January, to that credit card, $50 was charged towards interest. So it left that account basically. Now you can see a minus $50 adjustment. So now your current balance would be minus $550. So also that you keep track of here. Now would be $50 added, then you just select this section over here and then you just empty it and you can see $50 would have been added, so it would have been minus $450. The total of your balances will show on the top here. And if you're using many credit cards, you can also see a balance by date to see how much you've used on that credit card. So let's say, for example, once you start adding transactions, so let's say the credit card number 1, you can enter the start date, so let's say the 1st of January till the end of January. Now you can see that adjustment, that's the plus minus section. You can see how much you started with and you can see how much you end with. The plus minus is also from your log, so once we start adding transactions to the log, you can also see that added here as well. And then you can see for that time frame what you started with and what you ended with. Now that we've added this information here, let's have a quick better look at our log tab. So basically any information we add to our log tab gets added to all of these other tabs, including our year tab. There are 12 monthly budget tabs, savings tab, debt tab, and our worksheet. So for example, on the 1st of January, so also this has a calendar field, you received income of $1,500. You just select income here. And just know also your subscriptions and irregular bills have a drop down here. And then that's how you can find, for example, that Netflix subscription would be under subscriptions, not under bills. Might be good to know. So select income here. Let's say that was paycheck number 1 and that money was received into a checking account. Now if you would go to that account section, you can see that extra $1,500 has been added here. And you can see your current balance has been updated to $2,000. Now if we go to that first month tab, we can also see this has automatically been added here for us to that month overview. So that's basically how the log tab works. So before we continue with any of the other tabs, we're quickly going to show you how the budget tabs actually work. So there are 12 monthly budget tabs in total, as you might have seen. And basically, again, you can start on any month in any year. You just adjust that in this first tab. So again, we've currently set it on January 2024. But if you would have liked to start in March or in May, you could have adjusted here as well. And then it will basically show you the 11 consecutive months afterwards. So there'll be February, March, April, and so on. And as we basically have shown, your bills tab section and your debt plan section automatically update based on the payments. But all other yellow fields are information we can enter in on these tabs ourselves. So basically how this works is that this spreadsheet calculates your income minus your savings, bills, expenses, and debt, as we talked about earlier. So if you would like to create a budget, what you could do is basically go to that or switch here. You can switch between left to budget, which is your planned, and left to spend, which is your actual. So once you're budgeting at the beginning and you're setting up your budget, we recommend setting it to left to budget so you can easily see how much money there is to allocate. Now, we personally recommend with adding your income first so you can easily see how much there is to allocate between all of these other categories. So let's say, for example, you expect $2,500, $2,000 or $2,750 paycheck, $1,000 from freelance, and maybe a $500 bonus. Now we can see here, in total, in income, you've received $6,750. So now it is this amount plus whatever you have here planned. So let's say you already knew you had $100 in your checking account, you would like to use this. You can now see that it will be that 100 plus that $6,750 that we can distribute between those savings, bills, expenses, and debt. Now we don't have to distribute it all, of course, but if you'd like, that is basically what it's shown you or how the spreadsheet is set up to basically how much is left to budget. Now, as we've already entered in all of our bill information, as well as some debt information in the payment tab, this number has already gone down. But basically, as you add information or add numbers for your budget, so let's say $350 for that wedding, $250 for that car, we can see that left to budget slowly going down. If you're using this on the Google Sheets app, it might be good to know that they make the backgrounds white instead of transparent. So this number behind the graph is not visible. So you can read this number over here. It will show the exact same number. So now basically to set up your monthly tab, all you do is just enter in that budget that you have for each subcategory. Again, completely fictional. And basically this way on the top, you can easily keep track of how much you exactly have left for each of them. Now, if you're not sure where to start, you can always look at previous months, look at your bank statements, and so you can have a rough idea of how much you've spent. And then basically that way you can set a goal for yourself for each subcategory on how much you would like to spend as of now on. Now, this is of course completely fictional, so this amount is not completely spent because we have basically not entered any of our debt information and these are just all fake amounts, but this will be much more accurate once you set up your own budget. Now, it might be good to know is that what we do recommend is setting up that first month, because to make it a little bit easier, what we have done is for those income, savings, and expense sections, so all these yellow fields, we have linked them to all the other tabs. So now basically all this information will be automatically pre-filled in here for you. This is mainly for those that have a very steady budget that they would like to keep track of. And that way basically you don't have to enter the same information like 12 times. But what we have done is left these fields all open for each of the months. So let's say, for example, January 2024 is finished and you're starting with the next month and now you see, ooh, you budgeted $1,000 for groceries. Let's go to the left the budget section. But now actually you know already this month you're going to have a big party and you know your groceries are going to be higher. Now you could adjust that for $1,500 for this month. It won't influence the other months. It will just influence that month specifically. Only if you make changes on that first tab, as that is what all of them are linked to, it will update on all the other tabs basically. So that way, each month, if needed, you can make adjustments to each of the subcategories individually. Now you can see the bills and the debt sections don't have yellow fields because again, all that information is taken from that payments tab. So if you need to adjust these, just head over to your payments tab and you can adjust the amounts over here. So that way it will update on your calendar as well as your month tabs. Now, all of these months, basically all of the information loads automatically for you once you've set up that budget. And basically all of these actuals, so these white fields, will just be taken from the log tab. So as we've seen on that first month, once we enter in that transaction in the log, the total will just show us for us here. So let's say, for example, on the 2nd of January, you went grocery shopping. Now, that's 2024. So let's say you spent $50 on expenses from the, let's say, on groceries, and that came out of that same checking account. When we go over here, we can see this automatically been added. Now you can switch to left to spend here once you've completed budgeting. So basically you can see based on that rollover and that income, minus how much of that income you've spent, you can easily see how much there's still left to spend. So again, if you're using the app, just know you can read this amount over here. Now, once you start entering transactions in the log tab, you can see that all the other graphs start updating as well. So the first graph we have on the top here is a breakdown of your spending. So in here you can see how much of your money went towards savings, bills, expenses, and debt. Now currently all of our money went towards those groceries. That's all the money we've spent, so it shows $100 or 100% towards expenses. But this will update the more transactions you add on. Now you can click on these graphs, and once you click on them and hover over them, you can read the individual sections. It works the same here. This also only works on the browser version, not on the app, unfortunately. And then the expenses here, this is an expense breakdown, so this will show basically the breakdown of your subcategories in expenses, so you can see where your money went, and also currently showing 100% as we've only added one transactions for groceries over here. Now, if we scroll a little bit further down, we have now also added the balance tracker option. So basically also this will update automatically for you. So it will show you your start balance, what you started with. Now, basically on the first day, you straight away added that $1,500. So it starts on $1,600. And then if you click on that graph and again hover over it, now we spent $50, so we can see on the 2nd of January, our balance dropped to $1,550. So this way you can keep track of your account balance, or you can see how that fluctuates throughout the month. Savings, bills, and expenses and debt payments will make it go down, and any income, of course, will make it go up. Now you'll see a spending chart here, which is basically the breakdown of this, the spending breakdown. So anything that you put towards bills, expenses, savings, and debt, all the subcategories will show here, and that way you can easily see how much of your money went where, and they'll automatically be arranged in chronological order for you, so you can easily see where you spent most of your money basically. Now over here, to make it a little bit easier to see all your transactions month by month, there is basically this log added here. This loads completely automatically for you in chronological order. So when you add transactions in the log, basically only for the month that you have selected, all of this will show here. So you don't have to touch anything here. You also just know you can't make any changes here. If you try to change anything here, it will stop working. So don't forget, you have to add your transactions to the log, because basically this is where all their tabs read their information from. And then this will just show automatically for you. So basically you can just see all the transactions of the log tab. Now the main reason we have done this is because you're budgeting for a full year. This log tab can get very, very long, especially if you have a lot of transactions. So this way, what we recommend doing is at any point in time that you have, for example, completed a week or a month, what you could do is hide rows so your log doesn't get so long. So to do this again, you just click on the top row, hold Shift on your keyboard, click on the bottom row, right click and click hide rows. A warning might pop up, you can just click on OK. And now all of this information is still visible. So if you would go to the month tab here, you could still see all those transactions. But that way your log tab is nice and short and doesn't show all of that information. Now at any point you need to adjust any of these spendings or any of these log transactions, you can always click on here, click on OK again to make them available. And you can see all those transactions are just still here for you. Now, basically all these 12-month tabs work exactly the same way. If you're not planning, or maybe you want to plan for a full year, and then it might be easier to hide the tabs that you don't need, so to create a little bit more of a compact view. And to do this, you can just right click on this tab name and click Hide Sheet. And then you can click over here on this little section over here, and at any point in time when needed to make this available again. So that way all of these tabs are here, but that way, let's say for example, you only want to focus on January right now, you can just keep tab 1 and then hide all the other tabs. Let's say at the end of January, you've completed this month, you can hide this sheet and make the February sheet available, so you're not too clogged with all the sheet down below here. But of course, this is a personal option or a personal preference. You can also keep them all. That is completely up to you. It's just a little trick that we wanted to share with you. Now, besides that, as we said, that rollover function works completely automatically for you. So as we can see here, at the end of January, we have $1,550 left, because at the moment we barely added any transactions. So this will of course be much more accurate once you start budgeting. And then you can see that at $1,550 automatically gets added to that next month as a rollover. If you don't want to use this, you just unselect this checkbox and it will just show 0. It will only use what you've added or the income for that month. Now the plan box, as you can see, is yellow. This is open, so this does not update automatically. So you can type in the value here yourself. So if you already know, like you finished January, you already know that next month you'll have an extra $2,000 available, you can type that in here and it'll be automatically added to this section over here, of course. So this is manual, so just adjust this whenever needed. Now it might be good to know that you can also start budgeting on any day that you'd like. So if, for example, let's say you receive your first paycheck of the month, each month on the 10th, and you would like to budget from paycheck to the next paycheck on the 10th of February, what you could do is just adjust the start date here. So you just click on this field, hit the backspace on your keyboard, or the backspace button on your keyboard, and then type in a number between 1 and 31, of course. So let's say you want to start on the 10th of January. Now we can see we would start on the 10th of January 2024, and the transactions we've added were before the 10th of January 2024. So they'll be added to our rollover section, but they'll not be added to our actuals, as basically everything happened before the January 2024. Now this is individual per month, so you can adjust this, but basically know that when you set this up, it will now show you from the 10th of January 2024 for exactly 1 month later, so it will be the 9th of February 2024. So it will always show you exactly 1 month. And that is basically how the monthly budget tabs work. Might be good to know that also for these tabs you can create a more compact view. So again, to do this, click on the top row, hold Shift on your keyboard, select the bottom row, right click and click Hide Rows. A warning will pop up, just click OK. And then you can see you have a much nicer compact view, so you can easily see everything, see that balance tracker, that spending chart, and that way it might be much easier to budget. Now, this part of the tab cannot be linked to all the other tabs, so you will have to do this manually for each month. And just know that whenever you add subcategories, again, you can always unhide these rows if you need those extra spaces. So you just unhide it, click on OK, and it will just be made available again for you. Just know that these warnings that you see, these are just heads up that we have added on purpose. So basically this way, if you make any adjustments to any field that contains a formula, you will get a warning. So let's say, for example, over here, paycheck number 1, you weren't paying attention, you click delete. Now you get a heads up first before you delete that formula. Be sure to click cancel if you do not want to make that change, because or else if you click OK, that formula would have been deleted. So if we click cancel, we can see nothing has now been changed in our spreadsheet. Should you accidentally delete it and accidentally do click OK, which sometimes you just see, oh, OK. Now that formula is gone, just know that you can always go to a tab that still does have the formula, for example, that month after it, right click, select copy, go back to that first step, right click, select paste. That warning will pop up again, just click OK again, and that way you can very easily just copy and paste that formula back. So at any point, if it's missing, just go to one of the other tabs where it is still working. Now that we've had a better look at the 12 monthly budget tabs, the next tab we're going to have a better look at is our year tab. So our year tab loads completely automatically for us. You don't have to change anything on here. The only thing that you can change here is the breakdowns. Basically, these ones will show you for the full year for each of the categories that you have, you can see a breakdown of the subcategories. So over here you can see, for example, in January we added an income of $1,500 and expenses of $50. We can see that that has automatically been entered here to our year overview for us. So we can see that start balance and we can see that end balance, and that will roll over, of course, to each of the months. And once you start adding more transactions, this will update. You'll also be able to see a daily average. So if you've spent $50 in January, it will divide that by the 31 days. So there will be $1.61 on average. So also this will, of course, is based on your savings, bills, expenses, and debt. And this will, of course, update automatically for you once you start adding in more transactions. On the top here, you'll also be able to see a start balance, how much you've received in income for this year, as well as your spendings and your current balance. And then there are a bunch of graphs here that we're quickly going to have a look at so you can easier see what each of them and how each of them work. But for that to work, we're going to just quickly add a couple of more transactions of each of the subcategories so you can have a better look at how this truly works. So let's say we also spent $10 in bills, $50 towards a debt, and $25 towards a saving. So this is bills, that is a debt payment, and this is savings. Now, just know that if you have a lot of transactions, by the way, and they all come out of the checking account, because maybe that's what you're updating right now, you can always right-click, click copy, select multiple fields by clicking on the top field, holding shift on your keyboard, and then selecting that most bottom field with your mouse. Right-click and click paste, and that way you don't have to enter in that same information like 20 times. Now let's say bills, this was internet. Debt, let's say this was credit card number 1, and you put $25 towards a vacation. Now if you go to the year overview, you can see this started updating a little bit more. Now on the top here, this is your balance. So you can see this updating throughout the year. This is per month, so this will, of course, if you add more transactions throughout the year, you can see this to start to fluctuate. On the top right here, you can find a spending breakdown, so you can see for the year how much of your money went towards savings, bills, expenses, and debt. And then over here, you can see a spending chart. So basically this way in a graph format, you can see month by month a total of how much you've spent. So this way, basically, you can see month by month the stack total of how much you spent of each of the subcategories. So you can click and again hover over these to see for each of the month how you've done. You can also see this information in the overview over here, but this way you'll easily be able to see which month you spent the most money once you start adding more transactions in. Now here you'll find the breakdown for each of the subcategories. So you can use this little drop down to switch between it. So let's say, for example, for savings, you can see at the moment we've only added one transaction, so 100% went towards vacation. When we select bills, we can see 100% of your money went towards internet. But once you add more transactions throughout the year, you can see a breakdown of each of those subcategories to see where most of your money went for each of these. Now here you'll be able to see your income throughout the year. Also this will update automatically for you, just like all other graphs. And then if we scroll a little bit further down, we can also see your top 20 in spendings. So basically what you have over here on that month tab, those spending breakdowns, we've added one for the top 20 for the year. So basically you can easily see from highest to lowest for the top 20 where your money went. So you can see a total of your top 20 spendings as well as how much percentage of your money they actually took. So at the moment, of course, we haven't added a lot of transactions, but this will update throughout the year so you can easily see where actually most of your money went. Now here you'll be able to see a savings month by month throughout the year, bills, debt, and expenses. These graphs are all the same as the income. And as you add transactions throughout the month, you can see, for example, how much you spent month to month on bills, month to month, how much you put towards your debt payments, how much you spent each of the month on your expenses, and how much you've saved each month in total. Now, you can also have a bit of a deeper breakdown. If you scroll further down here, so you can see income month by month, savings month by month, bills by month, and so on. Now, your subscriptions and irregular bills will show a total here, so it might be good to know. But all of these will update based on your actuals from highest to lowest based on the totals. So you can see at the moment on the top will be all of the ones that have a transaction as all the other ones are 0. Now you can see how you compare it on your planned total for that year compared to how much you actually spent for the year. And then you can also see a breakdown month by month for each of the subcategories. Now we added the option over here to switch between totals and average. So this will be divided between the 12 months, and it will also show you a percentage. So once you start adding more transactions, of course, here you can see here, because they're ranked highest to lowest, how much each of these per category or per subcategory they've taken up. So you can see, for example, for savings, once you've added more transactions, for example, 50% of your savings went toward that wedding, or 25% towards your vacation. So yeah, there's a drop down for each of these, as you can see over here. And that way you can just have a little bit of a deeper look at your income and your spendings for the year. Now, it might be good to know that also for these, you can hide the extra rows that you don't need to create a more compact view. So you just top row, shift, bottom row, right click, hide rows. And now we can see we have a much more nicer and compact view. I just know that a warning might pop up. And again, for this, you can just click OK. Now, we've already had a look at the calendar tab when we looked at the payments tab. But there's one feature that we have not shown you yet, and that is basically that when you go down here, is that you can plan a full year of paydays for the calendar. So just know you can add up to 170 paydays, and basically once you add these, so let's say for example payday, and your first payday is on the 1st of January 2024, they will be added on the calendar, and the day will be marked dark gray, so you can easily see on the calendar when that payday will occur. Now, it might be good to know that you can name these anything you like. So if you're budgeting with your partner, you could, for example, name it John's payday. And we should use an apostrophe here, John's payday. And for example, for your partner, Sarah's payday. Now, let's say Sarah gets paid on the 15th of January 2024. And now it will just show over here on the calendar. Should we switch to February? You can see the paydays are not visible because we only added paydays for January. Now, it might be good to know that if you, for example, get paid weekly, it might be a little bit of a hassle to add these 52 times and every time manually typing in the date. So if you're getting paid weekly, what you could do is click on this, right click, select copy, and say just a bunch of them. You want to do Sarah's paydays, we want to add those. Press the equal sign. Click the date that you're starting on, and then for weekly payments you could enter 7, so 7 extra days, bi-weekly payment 14. So we do 7, and now if we would copy this formula, we right click and then select copy, select all these fields, right click and select paste. Now all of these weekly paychecks have automatically been added here for us. And then of course you should budget till the end of the year. So what you could do is select these and then use this little drop down, this little blue box over here, and drag this down till basically you have reached the end of the year. So we're only budgeting to 2024. So these ones we remove. And now basically you can see that all these weekly pay dates, if we go to February, have now been added here for us. So that way it's a quicker way to adding all those pay dates. It's the same if we would have done 14 days. So if we would do over here equals that start date plus 14. And then we could just scroll those down, and we can see here 30th of December will be the last one. And we just delete all the ones that we don't need. And now we can see those bi-weekly pays have been added. If you get paid on a monthly basis and you get paid exactly on the same day each month, what you could do is use this formula. So you type in over here equals and then E date. You open the bracket, type in that or select that start date, a comma, and then we want to do exactly 1 month after that. So we type in a 1 and then we just close that bracket. And then now also these, we could scroll down and we can see it would end on the 15th of December and remove the rest. And now we can see that if we scroll throughout the month, each month on the 15th, they have been added. So these are just simple tricks and extra tips on how you could quickly add these pay dates. But if you find it too difficult, just know you can also just double click on these fields. They contain little calendars and you can just add these manually. You don't have to add them all at once. You don't have to add them at all. It is just an extra option that we have added based on a popular request from our previous customers. So now we've had a look at all of these tabs. And the next step that we're going to have a better look at is our savings tab. So our saving tab loads completely automatically for us. This is based on the transactions we have added in the log tab and the information we've added in the start tab. Now we have added the option here to switch between balances and percentages, and that is the only thing that you can change here on this tab. So it's very easy to use, and it just shows you basically your progress for each of your savings. Now, for example, here we can see that wedding, we can see that goal day that we had added, we can see that goal, the start amount, we can see we have nothing added on the save section yet, so our left to save is $7,500. And based on that monthly contribution of $326.09, it will still take us 23 months to reach that goal. And over here, we'll be able to see that progress. We've added the balance below the graphs for those that are on mobile devices, as that number will not be visible. So that way you can easily see the balances. And here, for example, we can see that vacation, that $25 that we have added in the log here, and $25 has now automatically been added here for us. Just know you can also withdraw money from any savings or sinking funds. For example, let's say you needed to pay that annual bill. So let's go to that log, and on the 4th of January 2024, you used $100, so you add a negative transaction for that savings. And let's say, for example, you do annual bills. Now, let's say this is also your savings account that we have not listed here. So let's say you wanted to do that over here on the savings account, we can just still add this, and we had that, let's say $5,000 in there, for example. Log, and now out of that savings account, we're taking $100. If you now go towards that savings, we can see that $100 has been deducted, so $2,400 is our current balance for those savings. It might be good to know that it also gets added over here to your month tab once you add a date, so it shows negative $100. And because it's income minus savings, so minus and minus 2 times becomes plus, negative and negative becomes plus. So now basically it's showing you it as a minus plus minus, so it's became available to be spent. So once you take that money out of that bill funds or whatever funds you've taken money out from, just don't forget to also add the transaction what you spend it on. So on the 4th of January 2024, we also paid $100 with those bills. And let's say this went towards, now our example, in our checking, like out of our checking account, for example. And now we can see that $100 and that $100, the negative and the positive, they will cancel each other out. So it won't influence your left to spend section, basically. So that is how you log withdrawals from your savings section. And that is basically how the savings section works. On the top here, you can see your total goal, the total start amount that you've started with, total how much you've saved. So this is based on how much you started with, but also how much you've saved. So you added 25 but took out 100, so this is actually lower. And we'll show you here how much you still have left to save to reach all those goals. Next step we're going to have a better look at is our debt tab. So now we've set up the debt tab in a way that we try to make it as easy to read as possible for you. So basically, as you can add up to 40 debts, this can get very long, and if you would need to look for the information in there, it can get quite tedious. So we've added a section over on the left here, and basically all you need to do is just select a year and select the month. So let's say for January 2024, so here you can type in the year, this is a text field, and this is a drop down for you to select the months. You just select this, and now you can see how much, based on the debt payoff schedule that you've created, how much you need to pay towards each debt. Now you'll also be able to see how much you've paid here towards each debt based on the transactions you've added in the log tab. As you can see, we added that $50 towards the credit card number 1. So it shows here $50 are paid, so there's still $50 left to pay. And we'll be able to see our end of the month balance. So after we made these payments, there will still be $1,403.75 left to pay for this debt. Over here you can see the progress for each of these debts, so where you'll be at the end of the month. So once you would have made this payment, for example, for $140, 27% of this debt, so credit card number 2, would have been paid off. Now over here you will also be able to see a debt payoff progress. At the moment it is not accurate because we're basically planning for the future, and this is based on the current date. So if we would have adjusted this, let's say we would have started paying off debt on the 1st of December, as it's currently December 2023, just to show you how this works. It will show you that basically at the end of December, so if we would have started in December 2023, our debt payoff progress would have been 2.6%, and 34 months after December 2023, we would be completely debt-free, which you can see over here, which will be October 2026. Now again, you can just scroll throughout these dates and scroll throughout these months to see your progress for each of the debts and also see exactly how much you need to pay towards each of the debts. We have tried to make this as customizable as possible, and for that reason we've added the option that you can pay more towards any debt at any time. So let's say we go back to the January 2024, you already paid $50, but let's say you have a little bit extra to spend. So let's say on the 7th of January 2024, you decide to put another $100 towards that debt of credit card number 1 out of your checking account. Again, using the account section is completely optional. Don't want to use it, then you can just hide this column completely too. So just know that. You can right click and then click on hide column. Now we go to the debt section here and we can see you've paid $150. So there's minus $50 because that's what you paid extra left. So now we can also see here, if we would scroll to the right here and we look for credit card number 1 over here, that $150 has replaced that $100 that was originally planned, and our calculations and our balances have updated for us automatically. So this will allow you to pay more towards any debt at any time, not just the lowest debt that you're currently paying off, to give you that little bit of extra flexibility. Because for example, there might be a debt that is bothering you more than others and you would just like to get rid of it. Now we have added the plus and minus section here. This is mainly for those who would like to plan ahead. So let's say, for example, you know that in March you will get a large bonus and you would like to use some of this bonus to put towards your debt. You can just enter in that extra here and it will just automatically go to the debts in order. So let's say $1,000. Now we scroll a little bit to the right so you can see what's happening. We add that $1,000 here. We can automatically see that that credit card will be paid off. There'll still be money to pay towards that third credit card, and even a large payment towards that credit card number 7. So all of these debts and all of these debt pay of progresses will now be sped up. So this will just automatically go to the debts in order, not to the debts that you have selected. So yeah, so basically you can just add more and pay more and all of your calculations will update automatically. Now there is one last thing that we'd like to show you, and that is the fact is that this debt payoff tracker goes on that perfect world scenario where none of these credit cards have extra late payments, late fees, annual fees, and the reality is most of these have that. It is just hard, or this tracker cannot take that into account. So just know that we highly recommend checking the balance after you've made a payment to make sure that that balance that is showing here is still accurate. Because even if you would make multiple payments throughout the month, the interest calculated could differ than what is calculated here based on that perfect scenario where there's no fees or no charges towards that credit card at all, and there's just a once a month payment, so that interest could differ slightly, but also if an annual fee has been charged to the card, that balance could differ. And you don't want to make that last payment and not realize you have not fully paid off that credit card, and now a balance is still sitting there accruing more interest and basically getting higher and higher again. So if, for example, let's say you have made that payment of that $150 towards credit card number 1 over here, and now you can see here it's planned, or basically on that perfect scenario, it will show that there's a balance of $1,257.26. But now let's say there was also an annual fee charged towards your credit card. Now what you could do, let's say you need to update this balance is not accurate, you just click on this field and just replace it with the current balance. So let's say the balance is actually $1,350, you just type that information in here and you can see all other calculations after it will update automatically for you. So you can do this whenever needed, and that balance, a warning will pop up on your spreadsheet, not on ours because we make frequent edits, so we have removed that currently. A warning will pop up, but you can click OK, and whenever needed, you just update that balance to get a more accurate calculation and have a better understanding, and basically better be able to see when you will be debt-free, basically. So yes, don't forget about that, and just know that you can update that balance at any time when needed. And that is basically how the debt tab works. The next step we're going to have a better look at is our Worksheet tab. So we've already basically shown you how this worked, or what this tab is for when we look through the tabs, but this tab is very easy to use. All you do from the drop down is for each of the subcategories, select how important they are to you. And then the total will show you on the right here, so you can easily see how much money you spent on the things that are important to you and how much money on the things are not that important to you, and maybe where you could possibly save a little bit more. If you scroll down, you'll also be able to find your subscriptions and all your other bills, so you can add these here as well to get a better calculation of how much money went towards what. And then the last tab that is included in this spreadsheet is our net worth tab. So this is completely separate from all the other tabs, and this requires you to fully manually enter your information in here. Again, only enter information in the yellow fields. And basically what you do is you can enter up to 35 assets and 35 liabilities and see what your net worth is. Now we have added some headers here, but you can change this to whatever works for you. So let's say, for example, you would like to keep track of the checking, savings, cash, just cash here. Now, let's say you start with $15, $2,500, and $750. You can see the totals will automatically be added here to the top here. And if you'd like, you can even set a goal. Let's say you want to reach a net worth of $50,000 by the end of this year. Based on the information you entered, you can see how close you are towards that goal. So let's say next month you had $2,500 in your checking and the rest did not change. You'll be able to see the progress or the growth on the right over here. And basically you just enter your information and everything else will update for you. Now let's say over here we've added credit cards, debt and loans. So let's say you can enter in those balances of the credit card. So let's say you owe $1,500 on the credit card. You can see now when you go to the top here, this will be deducted from, so it's assets minus liabilities to calculate your net worth. So this tab is actually fairly easy to use. Start date automatically updates for you. Your currency automatically updates for you. And basically you just can keep track of your net worth if you'd like. If you don't like to use this tab or any of the other tabs, for example, you don't have debt, you don't want to keep track of your net worth, you don't want to use the worksheet or the calendar, any tab you don't want to use, you just right click and click on hide sheet. This way, should you ever want to use it, then it's still available to you. You just click on this little section over here. We click on net worth again. You can see it's grayed out and then it will be made available again. And this way, basically, all your tabs will still be there. And that is basically how the spreadsheet works. If you have any other questions, we left the contact information on the README tab. Be sure to send us a message. We'll always do our best to get back to you within 24 hours. And I would like to thank you so much for watching. We hope you will enjoy your spreadsheet and have a great day.